good. So my name's obviously Jamie Leggett. I'm coach at present time. Obviously, after lockdown and before lockdown, I was the coach of the England six-a-side team. Before that, I was the Scotland coach for 5 years in various competitions across the world, and also 11-a-side. Also the coach at FC Elmstead.
Mm. Wow. So how did you get into the England six-a-side thing?
So it came about basically probably about 8-9 years ago. I was playing five-a-side up and down the country for a team called International. Also, one of my mates' teams called All Stars. So in between them, but mainly with International, I've been playing tournaments up and down the country, big national tournaments and that. So basically, I heard about the England six-a-side team. They went to one tournament, and then the manager they didn't want to carry on with at the present time. So they was asking for applicants. So I thought, well, I know knowledge obviously of the small-sided game and everything like that. So I was just like, well, maybe I'll apply for it. If I don't get it, then it's good interview techniques and everything like that. And then maybe in the future, I might be successful with it. So I went for an interview up in Birmingham. That's where it was held. For the England job, first of all. And because of the knowledge, obviously, of the small-sided game, they actually, in the end, gave the job to somebody else, but they actually wanted me to come on board as chief scout because I knew Wales, Scotland, England players throughout, obviously, these national tournaments I played in. So they actually done a role for me, and I was chief scout. So I started recommending players to go to the national team trials, obviously for Scotland, England and Wales in the UK. We held a big national tournament in Birmingham as well, which had over 270 teams on the day throughout. Yeah, it was the biggest one in the UK of six-a-side football. And obviously on that day, it was funny because I didn't play in it where normally I would play in it. But it ended up that my team, International, ended up winning it overall. But then obviously they done a home nations on the day. It wasn't a full home nations. It was a showpiece, obviously, of the three teams where they would play. Normally the games are 20 minutes long, 20 minutes each way, sorry. But they because of the time span on the day itself, it was a showcase, and basically they done it as a 20-minute game so England played Scotland and England played Wales, and then Wales played Scotland, and whoever topped it ended up being our home nations champions. So that was a good day. This was all on the build up to the first tournament where I was involved in Montenegro. And basically what happened was, obviously they had a Scotland manager, they had a England manager, and they had a Wales manager, who's a very good friend of mine now, obviously, Barry John. He's been doing it the same amount of time as me now. But Scotland didn't have a manager at the time, but obviously I had recommended a lot of the players. So I was going along as part of the company anyway, because I had recommended everyone. So they turned around and said, would I be interim manager for that tournament for Scotland? And I said, yeah, I may as well because I'm there or whatever. And I thought, listen, it'd be a good experience in the long run, maybe for the England job or anything else what I was going to do. And it also gave me more of an insight, obviously, into the six-a-side, instead of just watching it, actually managing on the side and seeing how it was going to be. So we went to Montenegro. I ended up being obviously interim manager, as I said, for Scotland. We ended up reaching the quarterfinals that year, getting further than England and Wales as well. We ended up playing Romania, who were basically like unbeaten in 6 years.
Wow.
After that, also 4 years after that tournament, and 2 years before that. So this was a European Championship, and we ended up playing them. We actually beat Russia the round before, and they ended up they was third the year before in the European Championships. So it was a good tournament overall for us. We ended up losing to Romania 3-2 after being 2-0 down. Got it back to 2-2 in the second half, and then we hit the crossbar with literally the last kick of the game as well. So it was a wonderful experience, obviously, and I just thought that was going to be it. As we come back from the European Championships, a couple of weeks later, they turned around and said, "Would I want to be Scotland manager going forward?" So I thought, yeah, why not? You know what I mean? It was a wonderful experience with them, and I thought, look,
it's a no-brainer, isn't it?
Yeah, I can't beat it. You know what I mean? And the lads obviously welcomed me with open arms. It was great experience. And we called ourselves after that because we was basically ended up being 2 5-a-side teams put together as a squad. And we ended up being one big family really in the end, you know what I mean? And that's what we claimed, that's what we was for the 5 years what I was manager with each other. We was quite successful again in them various other tournaments after that. We went to Hungary, we went to Croatia. We always ended up getting out of the group. So we always hit knockout stages like quarterfinals or last 16. But then it become we split after the 5 years. I was manager of them and going to various competitions. We split from the organisation that we was with, so we broke away from that. So we had a year out really. I was still obviously Scotland manager with that in my 5th year, and we broke away. And then 2 years ago, we run a new organisation which was called the International Soccer Federation, which is SOCCA. It's our own brand. It's only independent, everything like that. It's run by leisure leagues who run 5, 6, and 7-a-side leagues up and down the country. The biggest provider in the UK, really, for 6 and 7-a-side, and then they fund it basically with a Pakistan family. Obviously, they fund the Pakistan national team as well there. So the first World Cup was in Portugal 2 years ago, and we went there. I was Scotland manager still. I went there. We ended up getting to the quarterfinals, lost to Russia in the quarterfinals. Again, a wonderful experience. The setting was probably the best setting out of them all, even though Montenegro will always be in our mind. It wasn't the best setting, but because we was up against it and everything like that, and the group we come together, it was probably the best atmosphere between everyone. You know what I mean? But the best settings have been the last 2 years, which is obviously Portugal, Lisbon. They build the purpose-built stadium every year at the venue, and it was in Portugal in the heart of the square, right by the big statue and everything like that. And then last year, it was in Crete on the beach in Greece. Wow. Yeah, so as I say, in Portugal, I was Scotland manager, ended up reaching the quarterfinals, and then the coming year, I was still thinking, I'm going to be Scotland manager. It ended up that the manager resigned because of basically reasons. He was doing his knowledge for like black taxi and everything like that. So he just become too busy, really. Couldn't do it anymore. So basically, they asked me. Obviously, logistically, it's a lot easier for me. with training and picking players and seeing players, would I be England manager? So everyone asks me this question. They turn around and say, was it an easy decision? Or they turn around and say, oh, it must have been an easy decision for you. Like, it was in the end, but only because of logistic reasons. If it wasn't logistic reasons, I don't think I would have done it. I think I would have just stayed as Scotland manager, not because I felt I had a better chance with England or anything like that. That's not the reason what I chose. It was literally on logistics in the end that why I went as England manager. But I can't knock what I'd done with Scotland and the lads for the 5-6 years of the tournaments, what we've done. And I still call them family now, and I hope they class me as family as well. We're still very close and everything like that. Obviously, they went to the tournament still and that. And we still spoke when we was out there. We still speak here and there now and everything like that. So it was a very, very hard decision to make. So when people ask me that question, yeah, it was a very hard decision. It wasn't an easy decision to make, but I ended up doing it. Ended up doing the trials this year for obviously England. And then building on that, we had a Home Nations, UK Soccer Home Nations. We ended up winning that against Wales and Scotland. And then we played another tournament, a UK Summer Series, where Wales come, Belgium come, and Ireland come. We ended up winning that as well, even though Wales had vastly improved. And they ended up getting a draw with us in that game. We was quite disappointed in our performance in there, but we ended up winning it anyway. We have played at various other teams as well because we thought the tactics-wise it would help us. So we ended up playing futsal teams like Genesis, who are good friends of mine as well. So it helped us with our tactics and stuff like that. We ended up playing a team of either semi-pro or pro, and also a U2 team. So we played. The team was made up of Casey Palmer, lefty, who plays for obviously the Dons, George, who plays Big G from the Dons, Blair Turgott, who's now pro, obviously out. I can't think where he is, but he's out pro somewhere else. But he's played at a high level here. He's played for Coventry and stuff like that. So we ended up playing them, and we beat them as well, and stuff like that. Because we'll touch on it obviously in a little bit, but tactics-wise, it's completely and utterly different to obviously 11-a-side.
I can only imagine. So, like, I'm not going to get into the tactics. Obviously, I don't want you to go and share your tactics to the whole world. But preparing for like a 6-a-side compared to 11-a-side, what's the difference between the two? Like, how do you prepare?
Obviously, it's obviously with 11-a-side's 11 players, 6-a-side 6 players. So it's less you're working with. But it's very similar, I have to say, to a certain degree. But you've got to be disciplined with a lot of your performance and a lot of your tactics. It's very, very disciplined. So if I turn around and say, basically, it's a mixture of 11-a-side, 5-a-side, 6-a-side, futsal, all put into one. And that makes the sport of soccer. You know what I mean? So that's how I would describe it. So yeah, you got to be technically good, but you got to be very, very well disciplined with, especially on defending wise. If you make a mistake in 11-a-side, you may be able to recover better, or obviously it is better. You'll be more often be able to make a mistake and not lead to a goal. Whereas 6-a-side is very much non-stop, you know what I mean? So if you make a mistake or you come out of position or you come out of shape, it could lead to a goal. Or I'd say 8 times out of 10 against the better side, it will lead to a goal if you come out of that position. So I would say that's the difference. Your mistakes will end up being shown a lot more than what it would in an 11-a-side if you made a mistake.
So yeah, a lot more ruthless. basically.
Yeah, it's a lot more ruthless. And for entertainment-wise, I would turn around and say entertainment-wise, because it's so close together and non-stop, I would turn around and say a six-a-side is probably more entertaining-wise than to the eye than a 11-a-side. So yeah, we ended up. We was disappointed in the end, but we went to Greece. Ended up losing to the national Greece team in their home nation. Up until that game, we ended up in the quarter-final. We hadn't let in a goal, so we was very, very well disciplined up until that point. And all the goals we let in, we ended up losing 4-3. With the last kick of the game, literally the last kick of the game. But all our goals was when we had a player in the sin bin. So it was very hard. So obviously it was 6-3-5 at that time. So every time we had a player in the sin bin, they punished us, which is fair enough to them, you know what I mean? But it was very disappointing for us, you know what I mean, when we had a player in the sin bin to always let in a goal. So yeah, that's something we need to work on, and we will do going forward.
No, of course. I mean, I can only imagine how hard it is sin bin in six-a-side, let alone 11-a-side. Obviously, you know, I coach in 11-a-side, so I know how hard it is getting a sin bin in 11-a-side. But six-a-side, when you're down to 5 versus 6, must be a lot harder than obviously in 11-a-side. Going into preseason, is there anything you bank on? Like, is there a certain way that you train? Is there a certain way you kind of plan yourself for the season? Obviously, you're on tournaments rather than an actual season. But is there a certain way you would prepare?
So with the idea of what we had was the World Cup was obviously again meant to be held out. It's every year it gets held. There is club events. There is club events as well called Soccer Champions League, which you can enter. So club teams can enter, or friends can enter, whatever, and they can go to. So last year it was in, where was it last year? Croatia it was in last year. So you can go to these wonderful things if you're prepared to pay for it, obviously. And the standard is very, very high. It's not only obviously paying about it and enjoying it. I would say if you're going to do that, then yeah, that's fine. But you got to understand that the standards are very high in the tournament itself. You know what I mean? So you've got to have a half decent side to be obviously go over there and enjoy it. Oh, of course, that's the main thing. But maybe compete as well. Otherwise, you may be in for a horrid time. You know what I mean? So, but for us, as a team, as a national team, what we was obviously planning to do was opening it, because it was my first year last year, through leisure leagues. We was going to do the trials. So we was going to obviously advertise it to all the leisure league players what are playing in the leagues. If you think you're good enough, come to the trials, come and do it. Recommended players, come and do it. You know what I mean? Come and do the trial. So we're going to do that through leisure leagues up until obviously the virus hit. That's what we're going to do. We're going to break it down to a training squad. So normally we do probably a training squad between 16 to 18, and then we're breaking it down from there once we do the training, maybe mini tournaments, etc., and stuff like that again. But normally what we do is we train once a month on a Sunday normally. And then from there, obviously, we would pick the World Cup squad in the end to go. So roughly between 13 to 15 players would get taken to the World Cup. So yeah, it's disappointing for some. But obviously you'd be in the training squad, and hopefully you want to come back the year afterwards and try to fight for your place again. Again, each year we'll open it up again to do trials, because you never know who didn't want to come one year, they might want to come the next year. But the only thing I'd say is obviously you got to be quite you got to be quite disciplined and open-minded that training is on a Sunday, and you've got to be willing to obviously come and do that. You know what I mean? Because otherwise, Otherwise, there's no point in coming to the trials, or no point coming to the training sessions or anything like that. Because if you miss one, then you could be missing something. So there's no point coming forward if you didn't want to do that. But obviously, it's open to everyone. Once this virus is all done and everything's dusted, hopefully it will all be announced again, and then we do our trials, and then we can start training again and ahead of whatever events are going to be announced. Because we was meant to be going to the World Cup again this year, but it looks like it's not going to happen. It hasn't really been announced yet if it is or not, but more than likely, obviously, because of this, it probably won't happen this year. So it'll probably be next year now again.
Is there a, like, did you say training was once a month or once a week?
No, once a month, up until maybe the last 2 or 3 months before the tournament. So maybe like 3 months before the tournament, we're naming the World Cup squad. So then we're probably putting 2 a month to obviously then tighten up on things, what we've been working on, and maybe work on a couple of other things, what we need to work on still going forward.
So going to training twice a month, how hard is it to actually fit everything in? Like, do you feel like you don't have enough time to fit everything?
Yeah, ideally, sometimes it is hard to fit everything in. But to be fair, the boys last year, they took on board quite fast everything, so we could fit quite a lot in to the sessions. Obviously, I'm manager, but Kevin James, who's obviously at Cray Valley, for me, I didn't really need to do a lot of the coaching last year because Kevin James is, for me, I regard him as probably one of the best in non-league. He's very disciplined. He's such a perfectionist. So if you're not getting it right, he will stop it and turn around and say, oh, "What don't you understand? You know what I mean? What do you need for me to explain to you this?" So for me, he took a lot of the sessions last year. Obviously, I come in and out because it was his first year, obviously doing the six-a-side. So it enlightened him as well, especially going to the World Cup and seeing all the new teams and all the big teams and that, where I have probably seen them before. So I was enlightening him as well as him watching a lot of the games. To him, his knowledge is greater, so much greater now, obviously, after the World Cup and learning a lot more. I was looking forward to seeing a lot of his sessions this year where he could adapt his experience and his knowledge into the six-a-side. So it was really a learning experience for a lot of the lads last year because we only had one, or there was only one, Dean MacDonald, left from the year before who had gone to Portugal with the previous manager. So the whole squad was new. Yeah, so the whole squad was new, and Kevin obviously was new as well. So I come dipped in and out of the training sessions, but towards the end I let Kev do a lot of it, and he passed on a lot of his knowledge, obviously, of non-league. It did help, but as I was saying, I felt like it would have been a great thing this year with his training sessions, and I was looking forward to watching them as well. Was obviously like on the outside and putting in little points here and there, but a lot of the things I was leaving to Kev to obviously do the training because I felt like he was going to understand it a lot this year going forward.
So as a manager of obviously six-a-side, is there ways you can go and watch the leisure leagues? Is there dates and games?
So leisure leagues run leagues up and down the country. So like any other provider of small-sided football, but they're just they're literally the biggest provider of it. So of six-a-side. So they're more based up towards like the Midlands. There's a lot of centres up towards the Midlands. There is a lot more coming down, obviously, into London. Like there's one now held in Chatham at Chatham's Ground, obviously, because that's 4G. It's played on 4G. They're based mostly at either like leisure centres, 4G pitches, schools and stuff like that. So, so going to see players, obviously where I'm based down here, I can go and see obviously the players down here. Ideally, if I could get up to further, so like the Midlands, etc., and stuff like that, I would, but it's not always going to be ideal to do that. So I have to trust, obviously, the regional managers or the centre managers to recommend the right players when it comes to the trials. So that's why I'm saying, obviously, when we do the trials, it's opened up to any player in the UK, if you think you're good enough to obviously come to the trials. It would be sent out to obviously all the partners of leisure leagues, and they would recommend the players they felt, or put it out to the players themselves and say, look, here's the opportunity. You feel you're good enough, come to the trials or register for the trials. And obviously there'd be a great pool of players to pick from. Obviously that's got shut down, but because of the virus, as I said. But hopefully once this virus is done, I'd have to trust that the right players are being sent forward, and I do trust that because they see them week in, week out, so they can judge them very, very well. You know what I mean? From their centres and that. So hopefully, it'll be exciting times going forward with leisure leagues obviously recommending their players, and anyone who's recommended is happy to come to the trials. But as I say, it's not about only coming on obviously on the one-day trial. Everyone's got to be disciplined to be able to come to them training sessions and able to come to them training sessions when they're put in place. Because, as I say, you can't be missing two or three sessions because it's not going to be any good for anyone, because you're not going to adapt to the player next door to you or learning the six-a-side game at the world level, not just at local level, you know what I mean, or national level.
So does this mean you have to keep a very good? Does this mean you have like a very good relationship with all the regional centre managers?
So I have a good relationship with some of them. Yeah, some of them I speak to obviously on Facebook, and that's fine. With that, obviously I have a good relationship with many of the main people in head office. So what it is obviously is a good relationship with them, so they trust the people and they have good relationship with their centre managers or the regional managers. So obviously I have a team director who looks after all the UK teams. So and the UK soccer, they look after the UK teams. So England, Scotland, Wales. If there was an Northern Ireland team, which is not at the moment. But that would be under our bracket as well. And we have a good relationship I have a good relationship with that person. And obviously he gets feedback, and other partners in the head office get feedback from their centre or their regional managers quite often, obviously, through that. Because they're full-time in that office, you know what I mean? So whereas I'm not full-time in that office, I couldn't see and speak to everyone. So I trust obviously what the feedback's coming back from the regionals and the head office people, and then they obviously trust what's coming back from either the regionals or the centre managers as well. So it's a good relationship all round, really, overall, to answer your question. Yeah, so it's a good thing going forward, that everyone's got a good relationship, and hopefully, obviously, we can achieve more in our quarter final last year.
So going into obviously when the next World Cup is announced, is there already like an aim or any targets that you're kind of aiming for?
So we had, what do we have last year? We had 12 players. Was it 12 players? We ended up with 12 players last year coming to the World Cup. Out of them 12 players, I think it's 9 have come back. They want to come back, and they want to obviously. Doesn't mean that 100% they're going to be in, but they're obviously ahead of the others because they've been there. So they're ahead of the others at this present time. Once a training squad will come in, so roughly you'll look at another maybe 10 players coming into that training squad once the trials are done. And then obviously they will fight for everyone will fight for their place for the World Cup. Ideally, you want to keep on improving. I said from the start, I didn't want to predict what we was going to do. I never turned around. The players were quite confident. They was obviously confident, and they were saying on some interviews, we believe we can win it. I'm not saying that I didn't think we could win it, but I wanted to just take one game at a time, and that's what I've done. As I say, it was our first year all as a group, so I don't want to make household changes, but yeah, you have to keep on improving. So if there's a better players out there, and they come in, all good and well. But also, as I touched on it earlier with the side of the tactics, it doesn't mean always the best players can adapt to the tactics. So if you're not well disciplined and you're not playing as a team on that pitch, then it won't work. So I'd rather take the well-disciplined player who's got some ability, of course, but over this, say, baller or superstar who thinks they're the best player. Put it this way, the two teams what got to the final, Poland have got to the final both years at the World Cup and come runner-up both times. Russia won it this year and Germany won it last year, or won it the year before. If I look at Russia and I look at Poland, they make changes every, say, 2.5 to 5 minutes. And every single player what comes on will be exactly the same model of the player what's just coming on. So they all know their jobs inside out. So it'd be like 5 players on, 5 players off, 5 players on, 5 players off, 5 players on, 5 players off. So you can think how many subs that is within, if they're doing 2.5 minutes, you know what I mean? So between a half. One, it's good because they're fresh, but two, it's good because the team trusts every single player on that pitch to go on and do exactly the same job as what that player you've just come off for is doing. You know what I mean? So they're like machines. It's like machines. You know what I mean? It's like machines. So they just go bang, 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 rotate, 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 and that's what. If I'm saying we're slightly behind, we haven't got that. You know what I mean? So I would say if that's one aim, I'd want that as an England team, that we've got the same ability and the same well disciplined as what they've got. And it doesn't matter who's on the pitch; you're all doing the same job as that person who is on the bench. And when you're coming on, you're doing exactly the same as that person who's just come off is doing. So that would probably be my aim going forward, to maybe progress that as a squad. You know what I mean? We probably ended up being a bit not getting through that quarter final, probably because we are maybe only relied on in the end 8 or 9 players for various reasons.
So how hard is it to actually get a squad to be like that?
It is. I think what we've noticed, me and Kev Turman have noticed, as much as we're the biggest provider of it in the UK, this is, you think about it as well, a lot of the Eastern European teams play futsal quite a lot, yeah? And then they've now adapted that into the 6-a-side leagues, what they do. So their leagues are maybe more in front of ours than what we may have thought. You know what I mean? So it's like either it's their national sport or it's their second national sport in their country, like in that way. Whereas ours, you could think, well, 6-a-side football, that's not going to be our second national sport. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
As much as leisure leagues do a magical job, obviously, with the amount of leagues they do, it's not our second national sport, whereas it would be their second national sport in most of the Eastern European countries. So your likes of your Romanias, your Croatia, six-a-side would be their Poland, etc., etc. You know what I mean? Like it would be their second national sport. So for me, that's what we need to do to make it maybe our second national sport, or highly profiled in this country, to make it obviously better for us going forward. But that will come through the help of, obviously, as I say, leisure leagues. It will come, but it's just a slow process at the moment, but it will come.
So going into these games, do you have like a certain philosophy that you live and die by?
Yeah, so we set up a way that we felt, me and Kev, obviously, and a couple of the other players felt would work. We would stretch teams, try to isolate teams in one-on-one situations. A lot of we wanted to isolate them in one-on-one situations because we felt that the ability of our players in the wider positions, would help us. A lot of the goals in six-a-side come from, so if you can imagine from an 11-a-side point of view, is a cross and the back stick, the player coming in to head it in or volley it in or anything like that. So in the six-a-side, a lot of them were beat your player down the line, drill it across, and they would be in the box to tap it in at the back stick. That is a lot of the work, what six-a-side is. A lot of goals come from that, and it's very successful in six-a-side. So, yeah, we had aspects what we felt we could do, and it worked up until the quarterfinal. Obviously, as I said, it was disappointing that we ended up conceding the goals we conceded when we was down to 5 men. Up until that point, defensively, as a team, we was unbelievable. Hadn't let in a goal. And we actually played a friendly as well and didn't let a goal in against France on the first day. So we hadn't let in a goal in, say, what did we play? We played, there was 5 in our group. So we ended up playing 4-5 with the friendly, last 16. And so we played 6 games and didn't concede up until the quarterfinal. So that's like, what's that, 40 minutes each game? So 6 times by 40, it's like nearly 200 minutes or more than that, you know what I mean, of football where we hadn't conceded. So we were very, very proud of that, going into, obviously, the quarterfinal. I'm still very proud of it now, because I don't think there's been a team what's really done that for a consistent period in a tournament. For me, we was told it's a record. I assume it is, to be fair. So yeah, being well disciplined helped us a lot. So yeah, there's, as I say, going out of obviously our first World Cup as a group together, I am proud. I'm a bit disappointed that we didn't actually at least get to the semi-final, if I'm being honest. But going forward, it's all positives. We know the stuff we need to work on now. So we've got plans going forward, what we need to work on, and hopefully it'll be successful with the players coming through the leisure leagues and other players, hopefully, after the trials. So hopefully we'll be able to have successful times going forward.
No, it's fantastic, and I'm learning here, listening to you and what's going on, because I've never actually watched a six-a-side game or actually experienced going to one. So listening to the way you're explaining it is teaching me quite a lot on how people might structure their teams and how hard it actually is compared to an 11-a-side. Going just before I go into your 11-a-side experience, what's your greatest achievement and your worst moment in six-a-side?
So worst moment, definitely this year. Quarterfinal, 3-1 down, get it back to 3-3, literally just before the 40th minute. Then there was like 2 minutes added on. and they scored with 8 seconds to go. Yeah, it's the most disappointing I've ever felt in six-a-side. Yeah, so it's getting, especially the atmosphere as well. There's like 3,500 people in there, obviously, because it's a home nation. We was loved all week as well. It was a dream game for soccer, for six-a-side, as an advertising. Like 3,500 people in there, 2,000 outside watching it on a big screen, trying to get in. You know what I mean? It was like, it was the dream for the company, really, if I'm being honest, us playing them. And the entertainment of the game, free flowing, it's what soccer six-a-side is about, you know what I mean? So, yeah, as much as that's disappointing, it was a great advertising for the company, obviously, and going forward to help them. But it was probably my worst experience. As I say, that last kick of the game, when it flew in, I was just like, yeah, gutted. But the best achievement, probably, I've touched on it, I turned around and said about it, probably the first year, not knowing all the boys and coming together as one family in the Scotland team. So first year in Montenegro, probably the first tournament what I've done, reaching the quarter-final and then beating big teams like Russia in penalties, 3-3. Also, obviously, I didn't say about it, but Joe Andrew ended up, our forward ended up getting top goal scorer in the whole tournament. To be fair, everyone turned around and said he should have got player of the tournament 100% as well. But for whatever reason, they decided not to vote for him. The committee, for the tournament committee, didn't vote for him for whatever reason. Politics, maybe. It happens in football, you know that. But everyone turned around and said that he should have got it. And then pushing Romania so close, and just the family effort and family orientation of the team. So I was very proud of that the first year. So I'd probably say that's the proudest moment with Scotland, definitely. But again, this year, building the whole side for a year, it was a new experience because obviously I didn't have to build a Scotland team, you know what I mean? So probably building the whole year, this England team, and the effort all the lads put in as well throughout the year, and then reaching the quarter-final again, and not conceding a goal till then. So that's a very proud moment as well.
It's fantastic. I mean, it shows how much hard work you're putting into it for you to get these achievements. Obviously, not conceding for over 200 minutes in the six-a-side game is fantastic. Going into your 11-a-side experience now, you're currently with Elmstead. You was there last season. How long have you been coaching within 11-a-side?
11-a-side. So it would probably go back to when I was 17. I was coaching when I was 17. So you're thinking, well, I'm 35 this year. So you're thinking, what's that? 10, 15, 17 years. 17 years I've been coaching on and off at various levels. So I coached. So basically, it all started. I was at college, so went to London Leisure College. It was association with Charlton Athletic at the time. It was held in the Valley, which is a shame because I'm a Millwall fan. So going to college every single day at the Valley didn't really help me. But anyway, yes. But yeah, so went there every single day. Was doing my obviously sports education and stuff like that in there. Ended up being my dad. I was playing for Bromley still at the time. Ended up going to America for 2 months, coaching out there on their you'd say community scheme. So through Challenger Sports Company. Went out there, was based in Texas for majority of the time. Ended up going to Oklahoma and Tennessee as well, where they sent a couple of coaches, where they needed a couple of coaches over there. So ended up going there as well. and then obviously having host families out in America, who, to be fair, 2 or 3 of them I still speak to now, which is obviously unbelievable, still speaking to them and seeing how they're growing and that. The sport out there at the time was a lot bigger with obviously the women. And I coached the best players I coached, and I told them when I said it was the women at the time. I said out there was a team what I coached, a team camp, what we done out there, and the women's team was a lot more technical than the men's team what we was coaching out there. So it's obviously improved over the years now, the men's game out there, but the women's game was so big out there at the time. When I done it, it opened my eyes up a lot, obviously coming back here and seeing how the women were over there to actually the women what were here. Obviously, it's changed again now that the women's game is a lot bigger here as well now. So it's good to see how the different sides of the world, the games are adapted and how the women's and men's games have adapted going forward as well. So yeah, as I said, I come back. My dad had set up a lot of the youth teams at Bromley anyway. Throughout the age groups, I ended up coaching a lot of the teams. Started playing in the reserves at Bromley when they had a reserve team there. Had a couple of appearances in the first team, not many. Still coaching the Bromley youth teams at the time. So this might have been the 17s or 18s or the 16s. I'd rather them age groups because they're on the fringes, obviously, of reserve football or men's football. So you can put a more tactical side of the game in there than the younger age groups. And I think if they're still playing, they're more willing to learn, like as well as the younger ones are willing to learn, but it's if they can actually do it at that time. Whereas the 16, 17 and 18, they developed a lot more. So they understand the tactics side of it more, you know what I mean? So it was quite successful, all the teams what I've coached. Luckily enough, I've been at they've always been a decent team. So we ended up having battle ups with the Dulwiches, the Aspire Academies, mostly Aspire really. And that's where I met Kevin James as well, like all them years ago as well. So I've always kept in touch with Kevin James. I know Junior obviously well, and Gavin well as well. We were good mates with Kevin James and that. Obviously now Junior's Kevin's brother's taken over Aspire as well, so it's good. And that they're always a family orientated club as well, Dulwich Hamlet, you know what I mean? So yeah, so we had a good battle up with them, a few other teams as well, Wellings. They're the better setups, I'd say. The Bromley, the Dulwiches, the Wellings, no offence to anyone else, but I think they're behind on stature or setups, maybe at youth levels. So I'd probably say they're the best battle ups we had. Going forward, I ended up playing in non-league for a few different teams, not high level or anything like that. Maybe that's one of my regrets, that I didn't really fell out of love with it, maybe playing wise. So I didn't really push on and maybe fulfill the potential I did have at the time when I was maybe 18, you know what I mean, and stuff like that. So I ended up knocking around and playing sometimes with my mates at maybe Kent County level, scaffold level and stuff like that. And then it led up to, I ended up coaching still with the youth teams at Bromley in and out. Done a team with my mate at Crayford Arrows, just in the Bexley League, just to get some love back for it. So I was still coaching here and there, like various community schemes and stuff like that. And I ended up then getting into 11-a-side through, I think the first one was probably, was it Erith Town? Yeah, Erith Town, I think, with Enyo, who I'm actually with now, obviously. at FC Elmstead with now. So I ended up doing that, drifting around other teams. So here from Belvedere, who I enjoyed a couple of good years with. And first year learned a lot under John Wilford, who was the assistant at Sevenoaks as well. Learned a lot of him. Ended up then doing a season with Luke Coleman. Me and him done it for a season. Ended up finishing after they just got relegated into the Scaffold League. We ended up finishing fourth. Just missed out on promotion because it ended up being 3 teams because Fisher went back up as well with the other 2 teams, which were Sheppey at the time. I think it was Sheppey and Punjab. I think ended up them going up. I think it was Punjab and Sheppey. I can't remember now. But anyway, going forward, and then now I've gone back with Enyo, and to be fair, I went back with Enyo just after the World Cup. When I come back, I was at a loose end. Wasn't really doing nothing. At the start of the season, I was actually helping out at Crowborough for a little bit with Henry Magridge, Sean Magridge is his dad, and he's manager at Crowborough. Henry Magridge was actually in the England squad with us. He plays for Whitehall, he's Whitehall captain. But I ended up helping his dad at Crowborough for a little bit. Enjoyed the time down there, but it just become too much in the end and stuff like that. So ended up focusing obviously just on the Sixers side up until the World Cup. And then when I come back, obviously went to FC Elmstead, had a chat with Enyo after a game one time, turned around and said, look, come in, help us out, coaching here and there. But also I'd like you to, obviously on the tactical side of it, watch what's going on match day. So I ended up doing that quite a lot last season, really just sitting in the stand, then feeding back to him at half time what I've seen and stuff like that. At full time, going into obviously the training sessions in the week, going and watch a lot of games, which I enjoy doing against obviously watching other teams, maybe the league above or the teams what we're going to obviously play in the upcoming games, stuff like that. I really enjoy it, the tactical side of it, and working out what their strengths are and what our strengths are and what we can expose from the other team. So I really enjoyed that last season, obviously up until lockdown. And now this season, going back into it, he's asked me to stay on board. I'm happy to stay on board. I haven't had no other offers. And to be fair, I want to just settle and just enjoy it. And I enjoy it with Enyo. He's got a good style of play. Also, the group of lads down there I've known for many years, obviously. He has a group of lads what is like a family feel. And that's what I like about the club, especially as well of people like Fabio and Paul behind the scenes. They're very family orientated and they want to push the club forward. Yeah, they don't want to rush it, but we'll get there in time. You know what I mean? So I want to settle and just enjoy 11-a-side again, and I think I can do that with Enyo. So, and obviously Jerry and Dominic Weston and stuff like that. So we're all learning off each other. We're all pitting it in together, and that's what we need to do going forward. And obviously, hopefully we'll have a successful season coming forward, and I'm sure me and you and the Holmesdale will have a good battle up this season.
No, of course. I enjoyed our game last season, both our games.
You probably didn't enjoy the second game.
Not really, but it happens. It's a game of football, isn't it? Has there ever been a time where you've asked one of the 5 or 6-a-side boys to come into the 11-a-side and see how they can cope?
A lot of the boys from last year, they were either playing quite a high standard of non-league anyway. So I say somebody like Tyrone Sterling plays Conference South. Who else? Dean McDonald didn't play not non-league last year, but he's played at pro level. Helgi was playing at Whiteleaf last year. Who else is there? Abs was playing at Whitehawk, but played at Barnet before. So a lot of the six-a-side. Joe, our keeper, he ended up at Kennington towards the end of the season. So he was at Canterbury before that. But so they all play probably various non-league and that. But yeah, there's a couple of players maybe the younger ones what I've asked to come in and speak to them and come in and see how they adapt to it. Also, they might have played 11 aside, but they might have fallen out of love with it a little bit as well. Because I know, we'll put it this way: the lad what got sent off against you, Toby Conter. He played at he's played at Barnet, played in Conference South, played in Conference. Didn't love 11 aside no more. A good mate of mine, through 5-a-side, through 6-a-side. I turned him and said, "Come down, look, just play. That's all. Like, enjoy football again. If it doesn't work out, then you can just say, okay, look, I've tried it. It hasn't worked out." Thing. So for me, yeah, he was the best player in the park before he got sent off against Hughes. He's picking up pockets of space. The intelligence, he was playing as a 10. He wasn't getting picked up. He was driving the game forward. He was the key for us to play through when we played against Hughes, because we knew realistically he was going to play two in the middle of the park. Nad and Callum can't get around the pitch on them three people. So if we play the three in there, Toby should have success with the amount of talent he's got. He should never be playing at our level, but he just doesn't enjoy it. So that's why he was with us, because he knows a couple of the lads, he knows Chang and stuff like that. So he was like, yeah, okay, I'll come down, enjoy it, you know what I mean? And that. So I don't know if he's enjoyed it enough to come back next season. We'll have to wait and see in pre-season, you know what I mean? But that's one aspect of it. I think you've got to enjoy it to want to do it 11 aside. If you don't enjoy it, it becomes a great, you know what I mean? And for me, I've always turned around and said, unless I'm doing it 100%, I don't want to do it. I said I don't want to do it. So unless I'm 100% in love with it or 100% committed to it, I'm not doing it. It's not fair on me. It's not fair on the people around me, and it's not fair on the team I'm involved in if I'm not 100% wanting to do it. But I just think sometimes it's the politics of 11 aside. I don't really like, but that's probably another podcast.
No, but then again, every level of football has its politics, and unfortunately, there's things we all disagree with. Finishing off the season, do you and Enio feel like you got hard done by with the void? Do you feel like you could have finished a lot higher?
Yeah, I think we would have finished higher. But saying that, after we go and beat you, we go and lose to Lewisham in midweek. So it's one of them that we was flying up until the Lewisham game. So it might have come well at the time, you know what I mean? So it was disappointing going and losing to Lewisham. But for us, we had enough quality, we felt, in our team to actually get in the top four. Yeah, definitely 100%. You can't be in the top four all season, and that's not me, because I only come in just before Christmas. That's the lads and Enyo and Jerry and Dominic and the other people around that got us in that position. They was in the top four all season, you know what I mean, up until that last little bit. So for me, if they had done it on the games what it was at that time, I think it would have been a bit harsh, because Sporting Club Thamesmead, no offence to them, I love them down there. Look, they're like family to me, you know what I mean? But they literally just made the top four that week, you know what I mean? So how can you turn around and say, well, the top four, what it is now, go up? No, it doesn't work that way. Especially as I think it was us, Stansfield, Rochester, and Sporting Club Thamesmead are all on the same points. Yeah, okay, we've played various different games, but we're all on the same points. We're all on the same points, and we've still got to play Rochester twice. We had to play Rochester twice. No, sorry, Rochester once. You still had to play Rochester once, which I know was going to be a heated game. We had to play Sporting Club Thamesmead. We had to play Rustle twice, and they're all around us. So for me, you can't predict. You can't predict. No. Everyone keeps on saying, "Oh, we should have just sent the top four up what it was because that's what they were at the end of the season." Well, no, because Sporting Club Thamesmead have played 2 or 3 games more than a lot of the other teams. No offence to them. So you can't send the top 4 up when Sporting Club Thamesmead have just got in the top 4. How can you do that?
Do you feel like points per game would have been fair?
But saying that, we wouldn't have got in it. So the top 3. So use Rustle and who's the other one? Kennington would have gone up, and then it would have been Rochester. But we was meant to play Rochester on the Saturday. The Saturday before it got none and void. Yeah. So or before the season was closed down at first, and that game got called off. Why did it get called off? There was no rain. There's no nothing. So there was already talk of points per game, before that. So I ain't going to say that's why they called it off, but it's a bit surprising why they called it off when there was no rain, there was no nothing on that week, and then suddenly you called the game off because there's been talk of the season going to get cancelled and it's going to be points per game. And you're going to go up on, I think it was either goal difference or maybe by 0.1 or whatever it was from us. It is what it is. But like, I think you're going to upset whoever. You know what I mean? It doesn't matter what you do.
Of course.
You're going to upset whatever. And the fact of the matter is, the only reason the Premier League season and the Championship is going is because of money. Nothing else.
Yes.
Nothing else. There's no other reason. Like everyone keeps on saying, "Oh, because Liverpool are going to win the title." No, that's not like, because if you go all the way down the non-league system, for one example, Jersey Boys, played 27, won 27, guaranteed to go up, from their league, which is step 6, obviously, to go up into step 5, they're not going up. Why are they not going up? Because you null and voided it. Like, how can you null and void? Like, you can't null and void one league, but not null and void every league. For me, if you're going to null and void one league, you have to null and void every league. Because how can you do promotion? How can you do relegation? Like, how is this going to work? Like, if you're saying the Championship and the Premiership season is going to finish, okay. Say what? So League One, if that doesn't finish, which I don't think is going to finish or whatever, so who are you promoting from League One? From the relegated teams? Like, how does it work?
They might turn around and do extra teams in each league.
But then it's like a reshuffle of the whole thing just because you want to play the Championship and Premiership. That's not our job to make, but it's a debate that I don't understand why it is a debate, because you should if you're cancelling one league, you have to cancel everything. It doesn't make any sense. Or you do what the Scottish League has done and just say, well, where you are is where you are now, and it is what it is. They've done it. They made the hard decision. Teams have gone down. I think is it Hearts or someone's gone down where they might have survived, but we don't know. But unfortunately, they've made that decision. So just why not do that then? Why not do it like the Scottish League? Like it doesn't make any sense. And for me, every FA in every league or whatever should be doing the same thing. You can't, like, football is a worldwide thing. and you've got one league doing one nation doing one thing, and another nation doing another thing. Like how does that work? Like, it doesn't make any sense.
I have no idea. I would have no idea, honestly. It's interesting though. It's interesting because it brought up a lot of conflict when it first came out, and a lot of teams wanted to take the FA to court, etc.
Well,
But
it's like the touch on grassroots football. Like, I'm a big fan of grassroots football, as you may know, and everyone knows. I go and watch Sunday League teams, good mates, and everything like that. That's growing. At the moment, it doesn't. It may happen, it may not happen, but we don't know if the FA Colesberg Sunday Cup and the Nationals on a Sunday. So Portland doing the semi-final of that. Yeah, and they've travelled up and down the country like a lot of other teams. But if you don't play it and you get prize money for that as well, etc., and that, how are you going to split the prize money? The same as the bars. If you don't play that, how are you going to split your prize money? Like, it don't make any sense. The FA Trophy. How are you going to split the prize money?
If I'm not wrong, I believe the FA Vase is going to be played. If I heard right.
Yeah, but you get what I'm saying. Like, this is from this season, and you're not playing cup finals, what have already been scheduled and stuff like that. Like, Sunday cup finals are being cancelled because you've cancelled whole football. So how can you play certain games but you can't play the other games? It doesn't even make sense to me. You have to make one decision and one decision only. It doesn't make any sense.
No, I get it. It's understandable what you're saying. It's interesting as well, but obviously answers will come out once it's all over, and then we'll have to go from there. Going into the next season with Elmstead, what's your aim? Are you going to be there a lot more than you have been? Because obviously, as you said, you were there.
Yeah, at the present time, I wasn't in there in pre-season. Obviously, I was around Crowborough really at that time, last season. But yeah, I plan to be obviously there for the whole season, unless the same circumstances happen. You never know in football. You don't know what's going to happen, as we know. But for me, I want to get a good, solid season, build something, and hopefully, obviously, I don't know what the deal is. Are they going to be 4 teams going up this season? Is it not going to be 4 teams? No one knows really what's going to happen. I don't have a clue. So whatever it is, hopefully build a squad with Enyo and the lads, because I feel they deserve it for the amount of work they put in. I know that's going to be the same with any club, saying, well, we put in hard work, which you do. I know how much, listen, I've been with Rootsy as well at Forest Hill. I know how much work he puts in as well, you know what I mean? So I wish Rootsy and all the good lads are obviously at Holmesdale as well, who are good mates with me. I hopefully, if it's only 2 spots, hopefully it's both of us. If it's not 2 spots and it's more, hopefully both of us go up, whatever, either way. But hopefully we can build a squad strong enough to go up and challenge. But 100%, yeah, we want to be challenging, obviously near the top.
No, it's great. Is there anyone you want to shout out before we go off?
Yeah, just the people around me. Like, I've been doing obviously a lot of mental health stuff on the lives, etc., and Instagram. I do them on a Monday and a Thursday. So all the guests will come on. Thank you very much for that. The support from my partner, Zoe, been unbelievable throughout this time, and stuff like that. From a six-side point of view, the England lads, I've shouted them out a lot. Thank you for obviously all your hard work last year, Kevin James. Mostly, obviously, the funding behind it, and obviously the organisation of International Soccer Federation, UK Soccer, Pete and David, the main people who I deal with, leisure leagues. And again, as I keep on saying, if you feel you're good enough, go and register at your local league, wherever it is, leisure leagues. Have a look at it, play with your mates. If you think you're good enough, then obviously you'll have the opportunity to hopefully come to the trials and do that. Obviously, maybe hopefully get in the World Cup squad and play in front of 3,500 people, which is obviously a childhood dream for anyone at grassroots level or anything like that. So if you think you're good enough, please go and register at Leisure Leagues. So mostly, obviously, big up Leisure Leagues, and hopefully people can keep on growing this sport, what I love, and all the boys are starting to love, obviously, and knowing about it. And hopefully we can just keep on growing it in the UK. So, yeah, cheers to Leisure Leagues. And as I say, go and register at your local Leisure Leagues. And also, obviously, yourself. This is a new platform for yourself. Thank you for inviting me on and giving me the opportunity, obviously, to speak about six-a-side, what I love. Obviously, FC Elmstead now, and Enyo, and I can't big any of them up enough for what they've done for me as well, on and off the field. Good friends of mine now, and as I say, I'm all about the family effort and that family feeling of a football club, and you can't beat that. So family football as well with you. Good luck with all this, and obviously we'll have our battles next season.
Of course we will. But thank you so much for coming on, Jamie. I really appreciate it. Good luck to you guys in whatever events you're going to with six-a-side next season. Good luck with Elmstead. I hope you guys do really well. I really like you guys over there. I just want to shout out, My Free Mind is a life coach touching on subjects such as relationships and development for personal finances. Shout out to our sponsor, Chunky Meats, who's supplying meats all over London. And shout out to our partners, Relative Music, who are currently producing all our podcasts. Thank you guys for watching, and peace.
See you there.